to get these emails. I want to move on to this. President Obama taking a hit after making these comments on his foreign policy this week.
It doesn't make for good argument on Sunday morning shows, but it avoids errors. You hit singles, you hit doubles. Every once in a while, we may be able to hit a home run, but we steadily advance the interests of the American people and our partnership with folks around the world.
So after the baseball analogy, he also said this to our own Ed Henry.
Well, Ed, I doubt that I'm going to have time to lay out my entire foreign policy doctrine. And there were actually some complimentary pieces as well about my foreign policy, but I'm not sure you ran them.
Well, even the New York Times isn't writing complimentary pieces now. Maureen Dowd saying, "Stop whining, Mr. President, and stop whiffing." An American president should never say every once in a while we may be able to hit a home run, especially now that we have this scary World War III vibe with the Russians. We expect the president, especially one who ran as Babe Ruth, to hit home runs. I don't know. That looks like a strikeout to me, Leslie.
Well, if we're going to say baseball, being a Boston Red Sox girl, Babe Ruth did not always get home runs, and I think the president was being truthful. And I think every president in this country, whether Democrat or Republican, has made errors. If we look back historically, are we calling Vietnam or Korea home runs? Maybe in hindsight, invading the sovereign nation of Iraq. There have been a lot of mistakes made by presidents on both sides of the aisle historically, and I think it's humble to own up to it.
Well, yes, but I guess a lot of people would argue about leadership and whether or not you think singles and doubles are just as good, and you admit to that. But Chris, where is the positive press? The president said that there's a bunch of positive press that maybe Fox News isn't covering, and yet you have people who have been his major supporters now writing editorials like the one I just read.
Blaming Fox News is small ball again, and it's petty, and he ought to be above that. He's the president of the United States. On his foreign policy, his foreign policy, to the extent that you can define his foreign policy, has been a disaster from start to finish. I don't think he has a foreign policy success to point to. The Iranians are marching toward nuclear weapons. Iraq has fallen apart because of the lack of a status of forces agreement. Al-Qaeda has occupied a part of Iraq. They're spilling over into Syria. Chemical weapons are being used there. The Israeli-Palestinian peace process fell apart. Ukraine is being chopped up. This guy's a tyrant's dream. The Chinese are rattling the saber at the Japanese. The Japanese are at the South Koreans' throats. The North Koreans are threatening more nuclear tests. I mean, it's an absolute calamity. China, I'm sorry, China is becoming the world's #1 economy, and our economic growth is 0.1%.
Well, that's a pretty long list there. I got to wrap it there, but have a great rest of the week. Great to see both of you guys.